Hey guys, this is Undercover Dudes all the way from Down Under, and Combat Arms Reloaded is going to be on Steam very soon, which is something I'm excited and scared about. If you told me that Reloaded was going to be on Steam in this current state, I would be very worried. While the gameplay is quite fair and really fun, the user interface is still incredibly bad, which makes buying weapons and inventory management such a painful process. Valofe over the past year have made some good improvements, like removing matchmaking and implementing a Southeast Asian server, but on this alone, Reloaded on Steam would be dead on arrival. As a lead up to the Steam release, Valofe have announced focus group testing, which is basically a public test server for new updates. This testing period will be split into 3 phases, with seemingly the Steam release occurring after everything has been tested and the bugs have been ironed out. Phase 1 will bring back pure combat mode, and if you don't remember, PCM is combat arms in the most pure form possible. Basic gear, basic weapons, it's the closest thing to old school combat arms, and I am a very big fan of it. For this new implementation, Elimination, One Man Army, Search and Destroy, Capture the Flag, and VIP Elimination will be available as modes. And all bar VIP Elim being the core modes that defined combat arms back when it first came out. Now, PCM failed terribly when it first came out for multiple reasons. One of these reasons being a severe lack of support, and another being that the weapons had to be bought. So realistically, people had all these permanent weapons and whatever, these NX permanent weapons, but they had to go and use their GP in order to go and buy, let's say, an L96A1 or an M4A1 or an AK-47. So there wasn't really a level playing field, as people that didn't have GP wouldn't have access to the weapons that were realistically needed for this mode. It was a bit off, it needed some working, and seemingly this is what we've got. For the new implementation, all weapons and gear will be free, so if people want to go and get more GP, they'll just play this mode and hopefully it catches on. Valofe has to just carefully push people towards this mode, maybe incentivizing them to go and play it without forcing the whole esports angle too much. I know there is a bit of a competitive scene, but if you go and label stuff competitive and hardcore and stuff like that, it just has a very negative stigma around it. Pure combat mode sounds fun. It sounds like you're playing the pure version of combat arms, and that will resonate with new players, especially if you say, okay, here's every weapon, go and play our mode. And pushing people towards a more fair version of combat arms is a very good thing. Phase 2 brings a ton of changes that to me don't really mean much. There are some quality of life changes like the ping counter being fixed and some small UI changes, but nothing major. There's also lobby voice chat coming back along with whispers, so good stuff overall. All in all, I don't really think these changes deserve its own focus group testing phase, as they're just updates, not stuff that really needs to be tested. If they work, just put it in the game. You're not affecting the gameplay in such a drastic way. And for the most of these little changes, you're not even affecting the gameplay at all. Now with that said, I'm not complaining, I'm just a little bit confused. Now the final phase includes some great updates that builds upon the first. The first update for this final phase is a milestone event for PCM that gives new items, so basically incentivizing people to go and play it. Very smart from Valofe. The second, again, links perfectly with the first update, and that's a squad system where players can now play with their friends. We have wanted this for so damn long in combat arms, and it's amazing that we're getting it now from Valofe of all companies, and it's going to be a massive boost to this game and getting new people to go and play. Combat Arms is realistically a social FPS. You play it with friends because it's much more enjoyable that way. So if you can go and queue up with your friends, get just dropped into a custom room, that is amazing, amazing functionality. It just makes life easier rather than going and telling people, go and join room 50 or join room 100, Gravedigger or whatever. You just get dumped into a match. It is really, really smart. As a little extra to the testing period as a whole, a new Latin America server will be made available soon enough, which would go and then provide global support for Combat Arms Reloaded, as the new Southeast Asia server gives around 100-110 ping for Australian players and an even better ping for Asian players in general. Then we have the North American and European servers, so for the first time in Combat Arms history, you can get a decent ping playing this game no matter where you live, to be perfectly honest. And this is coming from Valofe. I thought Nexon would be going do this. They're a multi-billion-dollar company. Valofe is a lot smaller. They're implementing servers. It boggles my mind, but I'm not complaining. I like the really, really big support Valofe is trying to get and put behind this game. Now, throughout this video, I have sounded very, very optimistic, which I know is a very weird thing when it comes to Combat Arms and Valofe. But there is still one big problem that can go and sink the Combat Arms Reloaded ship when it goes and launches on Steam, and that is, of course, the user interface. Despite the incoming improvements, it's still terrible. You can't improve a turd. The user interface is so bad, it needs a complete rework, or even better, scrap it and put back the old user interface that Classic currently uses. Without this change, Reloaded will have a terrible Steam release because people go and hop in game, have no idea how to go and equip weapons, no idea how to buy weapons. It's a painful process, ruins the user experience, and for all the good that you're doing with these updates, it's going to mean nothing if people just can't go and navigate themselves around this terrible, terrible user interface. But like, no joke, if all of these updates happen and the user interface is severely updated or changed, Combat Arms Reloaded could be a success. The storm is brewing perfectly. If people want pay-to-win Combat Arms, which a lot of people do, they can go and play Classic. I don't like Classic. I think it's a very much a flawed version of Combat Arms, and it's kind of blasphemy to the Combat Arms name, but regardless, people like it, so they can go and play that. But if you want realistically true old school CA, you can go and play Reloaded, and that's just a really good dynamic overall. So with this, I beg to Valofe, do not go and rush this release. A Steam launch is the one push that Combat Arms needs to go and get back on the map. So if you can't implement all of your planned updates within your specified time frame, push back the Steam launch. Please push back the Steam launch. It will do wonders. I played a good 3 hours of Combat Arms today, and that was the first time I played Combat Arms for a decent amount of time in a very, very long time. And despite being on a 300 ping all the time because there was only European rooms available, I was having an incredible amount of fun. None of my deaths felt like I was cheaped out, as the weapon balances, from what I can go and see, tight. It was just the terrible ping that went and ruined it, but I was playing on European servers, so that is to be fair. I then hopped into a couple of North American rooms when they were available, and on 200 ping, the game felt really, really nice. And then I think I tried one Southeast Asian room, and oh my god, it was beautiful, it was smooth, it was silky, my shots were registering. I'm like, okay, this is what Combat Arms realistically needed, this type of server support. We don't necessarily need an Australian server, dedicated Australian server. The play base isn't that big. Give us an Asian server though, and the people that used to go and play Combat Arms Korea, which has now been disbanded many, many years ago, they can now play Combat Arms again. And anybody in that region can play Combat Arms again. Currently, when we look at free-to-play first-person shooters for the Asian market that are on Steam, the only game that really pops out to me is Line of Sight. And Line of Sight, it is a fun game, but Combat Arms is better. It is just such a better game. And so with that said, if Valofe goes and does this right, they can go and have a very, very big influx of Asian players playing this free-to-play first-person shooter. Then you factor in Australian and New Zealand players, and then you factor in South American players as well. And boys, we've got some good stuff ahead of us. And overall, Valofe, I don't have much faith in you. To be honest, I don't have much faith. But this plan is solid. It's a solid plan, and if you do everything that this plan goes and shows and fix the UI, I think that Combat Arms Reloaded has a good chance of being a success on Steam. Now, when it gets dropped on Steam, of course people are just going to automatically downvote it and give it negative reviews because it is Combat Arms. It has that stigma, and people over many, many years of playing the game that quit will just automatically see it and just write it off as a game not worth playing, especially if they played it a Reload update a year ago, 2017, it's only been a year, and saw how bad that was. But with that said, if people go and give it a chance that have never played Combat Arms before, realize the game, hopefully, is in a good state, then good things could be coming. but that all depends on Valofe going and doing everything that they said. And I know I'm going to be a bit of a party pooper, but I don't think Valofe can do it. Like, I don't think they have the resources, I don't think they have the manpower in order to go and push out such significant updates and to polish the game to the extent that it needs in order to go and be a success on Steam. That's just my personal opinion, but I would love to be proved wrong. I really, really, really would. And so overall, and I say this every time, I'm not really getting my hopes up. I've got my hopes up for Combat Arms so many times, and I've been burnt so many times over the 9 years I have been playing this game. So if it goes and happens again, I wouldn't even be surprised. I wouldn't even be mad. I'd be like, alright, it's just another chapter in Combat Arms history. But realistically, all I want, boys, is just to go and play my favorite game again, and hopefully that happens. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to go and give it a like rating. But other than that, it's Undercover Dudes all the way from Down Under.